Today, armed conflicts rage in the poorest, most underdeveloped countries in the world, and over 90% of injuries and deaths are civilian. In September 2005, the 155 nations of the UN General Assembly made an unprecedented commitment. Not just a responsibility to react to genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, but a responsibility to prevent and to rebuild communities facing such conscious shocking situations.
Reuters.
Now France is suggesting the UN invoke what's known as a responsibility to protect. That means the UN could act to protect human lives by delivering aid, even if that means violating a country's national sovereignty.
The primary responsibility is with the government of Myanmar. But if it fails, if it cannot, or if it doesn't want, if it cannot, we have to do something. If we don't do anything, people will continue to die, epidemics will spread out, and it will be a catastrophe.
Despite the ceasefire, skirmishes have never stopped, and Azerbaijan has in the meantime used its growing oil wealth to rearm and expand its armed forces. President Ilham Aliyev said this week that his country was ready to retake the region by force if necessary.
If this meeting ends without results, then we'll no longer believe in the negotiation process, and we'll be left with no other option. We should be prepared for that. There's a reason we've worked on building up our army in the last few years. We have the full right to liberate our land by military means.
Nagorno-Karabakh never gained international recognition. Both Armenia and Azerbaijan claim ownership to the region, but local leaders refuse to cooperate with either government. And as France 24 found out, Nagorno-Karabakh has been preparing to defend itself. A peaceful end to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict would stabilize a key oil and gas transit region. It would also help normalize relations between Armenia and Turkey, a longtime ally of Azerbaijan. The talks will be mediated by the United States, Russia, and France.
Before a ceasefire was signed in May 1994, as many as 30,000 people were killed, 5,000 Armenians and 25,000 Azeris, with 1 million people forced from their homes and land.
We are foreigners in our own land. Here is not home for us. Our land is over there. The son of my dead son wants to go visit his father's grave.
In 1993, the UN and other NGOs provided humanitarian aid. In 1999, the Azerbaijan government began the construction of new camps across the region, using oil revenue to finance them. In the early years, post-displacement, things were difficult. Now there has been a visible improvement in material conditions. Most displaced Azeris now have a roof over their heads. Around €2 billion have been invested, including a chunk taken from the state budget, while the rest was supplied by humanitarian agencies. Each family has a house, there's a school and a pharmacy, and a piece of land to cultivate. Many of the camps provide the facilities to live ordinary lives. Water, gas, electricity and rent are free. They also benefit from an annual allowance of €500 per person. All told, the displaced are well provided for. Prior to this, it was a battle to survive. The Hulievs have spent the last 17 years in what they describe as a metal box, a shelter provided by the EU in the early post-war period. Monitoring the ceasefire violations on the front line of a frozen conflict is difficult for the international community, as nobody can confirm who did what, when or where. The soldiers are young men caught up in a conflict born of history.
I would like to study history to learn all about my country's past.
If and when a peaceful solution is found, it will be for both communities to come together.